Alright, so we kind of had a small lapse in time here as far as what's being recorded. Today is Wednesday, and yesterday she went in for a routine checkup, ultrasound, and baby looked great. He's 3 pounds, starting to grow some hair, which is awesome. However, they found separation with the sac and the uterine wall. So that's one of the things that we had mentioned a while ago, like when this first started. That was one of the serious complications, and she's now hospitalized for the remainder of the pregnancy, and at least for now and probably for a while on strict bed rest, whereas she was just on modified bed rest before. So yeah, we're back in the same hospital we were right after surgery, the week we stayed here, living the hospital life again. Do you have anything to say?
Hi guys. So the last clip that you saw was Craig kind of explaining very briefly about what happened. And before I say anything, I really just want to say that the baby is completely fine as of right now. And out of everything that's happened the last 2 days or the last 2.5 months, that's the most important thing. And I'm still thanking God every single second, despite this situation, despite this circumstance, that that's the case, that he is doing really well. And that's like more than I can ask for, even in the midst of like how hard this is right now. So basically what happened was I went to my normal weekly ultrasound that I have to get like him monitored and do growth, or just to like check him and check my uterus to see if there's been any separation. And from the beginning of this, we were told that separation is a possibility, that it could definitely be something that happens, and it is something that happens in most women who have this surgery, because they're making an incision on your uterus, and the water sac that's in your uterus is like gets holes poked in it, right? So it's very normal for that to happen. We were just praying that it wouldn't, because this happens when that happens. So we went into the ultrasound. I went with my father-in-law, and the first 30 minutes was everything's good. He is like 3 pound. He's a 3 pound baby. His ventricles still look normal, which is definitely a blessing. And she just kept going over all the things that were good, and then like there was no indication of anything wrong. And then she went and took the ultrasound images to a doctor without, like, she didn't say anything was wrong. And then she came back in and she was just looking around again, really trying to see his face, because he was face down and we wanted to get a picture of his face again. And then she went over to this side of my uterus to look at something, his feet or something, and she was like, I'm concerned. So she left the room again, and about 5 minutes later she came back in with the doctor who did my surgery, and the doctor said, still makes me laugh, because I'm confused. She walks in and she says, hey, I don't have bad news, but you have membrane separation. And I was like, why is that not bad news? But I know that in her eyes, it's more of just like, your baby's perfectly healthy, he's fine, you just have separation, you don't have a rupture. There's a difference, and rupture is like way worse than separation. And she's like, it's only 50% of your uterine wall, which is way better than a global separation, which would mean all the way around the fibers or the membranes have separated, and it's way better than a complete rupture, which is like, the way she explained it is that the membranes, they just separate from the wall, but a rupture is like the fibers like come apart. and when the fibers come apart and separate, that's like really, really bad. So it went from your baby is a healthy 3-pound little boy to you're going to be needed to be admitted to the hospital for the rest of your pregnancy on very strict bed rest. And I literally have just gotten up out of that thing and sat here so that I could have good light to film this video. So I'm sure you can imagine that that's the past day has been, it's like 11 o'clock the next day, and this happened at 10 o'clock yesterday morning. So the past 24 hours have been extremely overwhelming and a lot of information. Just, yeah, kind of, it was something that we knew we should prepare for, but it was also something that we didn't know exactly what it would look like if it would happen. And yeah, I just am kind of at a loss for words. Not because my faith has been shaken or anything like that. It's just kind of like, what do I do now? You know, in 2 videos ago, I was explaining everything that I was feeling and how I'm really struggling. And then I got like 100% positive feedback from that video, and I was really just like feeling strong again, and you know, able to like go through the next 60 days basically at that house and just like make the most of it. And then a few days later, I am now going to be confined to this hospital room in that hospital bed for the next 60 days. Would definitely be lying to you if I said that I'm okay, but I think that it's okay to not be okay. It's just kind of like what I always say is it's okay to not be okay, but it's what you do with that determines the outcome of the situation. And so I'm not okay. I didn't sleep last night because, you know, when something like this happens, all you think about is the fact that these are gonna be the 4 walls that you see for 2 months. And it happened the week of Thanksgiving. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. It's just a lot. And they said that the chances of a rupture happening, a complete rupture or complete separation, is very high once there has been some separation started. So the fact that there's only 50 right now is still really good. But they said the chances of it rupturing or completely separating over the next week is very high, which would mean that my water would break, and they would have to just daily stop labor and stop me from going into labor, and then I would just have to see what happens and try to make it until 37 weeks. They really want me to try to go to 37 weeks, and I believe that we'll make it to 37 weeks. I'm speaking that into existence right now, that despite the fact that that's a really long time, like really far away, I want this baby to cook in there for as long as possible. And even though this happened, even though the separation happened, does not necessarily mean that I'll deliver him preterm. There have been some cases, my doctor said this, I'm not making this up, that my doctor said that there's been some cases where complete rupture has happened and they've been able to keep the mom until 37 weeks, which is considered full term. So we're praying for that, for sure, and we're just praying that this baby is healthy. And they gave me steroid shots yesterday, and they're giving me another one today. And basically they gave me that because if I would go into preterm labor, his lungs wouldn't be able to fully function by themselves right now, so the steroids kind of like help with that, so that if he was born, he wouldn't struggle as much, which I think is a blessing in itself that that's something that happens. And I've had a lot of people say that in circumstances like this, that those steroid shots have really, really helped. And even though I didn't want them because they're steroids, I was like 100% yes, if that's going to help the baby if he's born early, then yeah, go for it. And so yeah, yesterday was just kind of a blur of emotion, like kind of the same feelings that I had on the day that we found out that he has SB. It was just like very fast movements. It was like, I went into that thinking that I was going to go home and I was going to be able to pack the Thanksgiving bags that we're giving out tomorrow and have a meal at that house with my family. And it very quickly turned into just a routine ultrasound to, you're not leaving the hospital until this baby is born. And that's just not really, nobody wants to hear that, ever. But this is the best possible place that I could be, because if this uterine separation thing happened and I was 40 minutes away from the hospital and I went into preterm labor, they couldn't stop it fast, like they can here. So despite the fact that this is not where I want to be, and nobody would want to be here, I am grateful that I'm here, because I know that they're going to give him the best possible chance if anything were to happen. And, the situation is not ideal, and it just kind of feels like one thing after the next thing after the next thing. But I was, actually, the night before the night before the ultrasound, I was listening to my all-time favorite sermon again, just because I kind of felt like in my heart that I needed to listen to it again, because I was feeling a little bit low that day and just needed some Jesus. And it's called Blazy Faith by Transformation Church, and something that the pastor said, his name was Darius Daniels, who was speaking on that specific sermon. He said, no matter what the enemy takes, he can't take the one thing he really wants, your commitment to God and your praise. So you need to make a decision. Whether you go into the furnace or you don't, you choose God. And then I said, the devil is mad, so he's coming after our baby, but he wants our praise. He's coming after our health, but he wants our praise. He's coming after our stability, but he wants our praise, but we won't let him have it. And the whole story was just about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which is a story that's very close to my heart, and kind of is very, very, closely resembling our story this far. And so it was just I wrote that the night before we went into the ultrasound and found that out and had to be here. So I just keep replaying that over and over in my head. It's this is not what I wanted to happen. Any of this was not what we wanted to happen, but the enemy won't get our praise. The enemy won't get our commitment to God and our love for God and our faithfulness to Him. And even though the next 60 days are going to be really hard, I believe wholeheartedly that the Lord's going to give me the strength to walk through this, like He has the last 2 months. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because you can imagine laying in that bed and not being able to move very much and being alone most of the week in this room is really not fun. But what a great opportunity to get to know Jesus a little bit more in the discomfort and the challenge and the trials of this. But all I just keep thinking about is how when this baby is born at full term, how I'll be able to look at him and know that everything that I've been through and everything that Craig and I have been through was so worth it to give him the best possible chance and to bring him into this world at full term and healthy. And that's worth everything. That's worth all of this to me. And I just hope that he knows that when he's born, that I would do this all over again for him if it meant that he would get the best possible chance. And I believe that God's not done working miracles here, just because this is not the situation that we would want to be in. He's done miracles every single step of this way so far, and just because this happened doesn't mean that He won't do something huge still. So, if you guys would like to pray for our situation, that would be awesome. And the main thing that we're praying for above my mental health and Craig's mental health, because it's going to be just as hard on him to not be here throughout the week, knowing that I'm stuck in this room on bed rest, is prayers that this baby stays cooking, and despite whether my water breaks or not, just this baby being able to make it to full term or close enough. that's like my biggest prayer out of everything. Yeah, I'm sorry that the last like 3 videos, like the 2 before this and this one, have not necessarily been like super, you know, it was the I'm struggling video, and then I failed my glucose test, which is definitely not the end of the world. It's kind of not even a big deal now. And then this one, like, they seem like somber videos, and they're definitely expressing my true feelings and my true heart about the situation. But there's so much goodness and there's so much grace in the middle of all of this and this entire story, that this actually, like, as much as it hurts and as much as it sucks, it's not the worst possible thing that could have happened. And we're praying every single day that there's no more separation, and that this baby stays in there, and that I can just, like, my faith can take me from today until 60 days from now when he is supposed to be born. And I believe that God will give me the strength to do all those things, and he'll give Craig the strength to be my support system. And yeah, when I posted about this on my story yesterday, I got an overwhelming amount of messages from you guys just saying, like, I can't imagine how hard this is for you, and acknowledging that this really, really sucks, and this is a very, very challenging pregnancy. Just still speaking truth over me and speaking life, and sending me scripture and sending me encouragement. Like, that was what I needed yesterday, and I wasn't sure how the response was going to be. But like, it just shows again and again and again how God has built such an amazing community behind us, and is changing the hearts of all those people watching. Like, people literally wept for me and sent me voice memos on Instagram, praying out loud for me and praying victory over the situation. And like, that just doesn't happen without God. I know a lot of people are praying for me and praying for the baby and like my entire family, but if you guys could just especially pray for Craig, that would mean the most to me, because like, this is just as hard as a situation for him to have to drive back 6 hours every week, to go back to work and to be at work when he knows that I'm here, to see me in pain, to see me in this situation, to know that he can't really do anything besides be here and to help and be my support system. Like, as hard as this is for me, I know that it's just as hard as it is for him, and I want that to be like prayed about and acknowledged, because he is my rock. He is my support system. He's the best thing that ever happened to me, and God knew that I needed him during this time to get me through this, because he does not stop praying for us. He does not stop praying with us and over us, and I need that right now. And so I'm so thankful for that man. I'm so thankful for how he loves me like Jesus does, and he loves this baby so much. And yeah, I just need you guys to pray a little bit extra for him today too, because he's Guy. He doesn't always like to share his emotions, but I know that he's struggling too. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I love you so much. I'll keep you guys updated. Remember to love God, love yourself, and love people.